Whoa, time for guest hosts. Whoa, it's time for guest hosts. Whoa, love the guest hosts. I just want a guest host.
It's episode 18 of Guest Host Raw, the series where I look at every episode of the guest host era of Monday Night Raw. And folks, this week's episode comes to us amidst the fallout of the first ever Bragging Rights pay-per-view, a show that was about a whole lot of nothing. You know, the in-ring action was decent. You know, main event with Randy Orton and John Cena, Iron Man match for the championship. That was A-OK by my book. Boy, and SmackDown, they won bragging rights. They won a big old piss bowl and the bragging rights to say they won at bragging rights for a full year. Yay, buddy. And look, I've had people in the comments section say, okay, we get it, Brian. You hate the brand split. You hate the brand supremacy thing. Look, I will stop complaining about it when they stop trying to pretend that it fucking matters. The show comes to us from the HSBC Arena in Buffalo, New York, October 26th, 2009. And the guest hosts this week are a couple of the fast-rising young guns in the NASCAR world, members of the Joe Gibbs Racing team, Kyle Busch and Joey Logano. When this episode was coming up, I know a lot of people who follow Guest Host Raw were very excited for this episode, and I had no memory, no recollection of how this episode was going to go. So I was thinking, oh, maybe it's a good one. Maybe. So we got a cold open showing the recap of what happened in the 7-on-7 match where Big Show did the unthinkable and betrayed Team Raw to help SmackDown win the Big Piss Bowl. And so then we come back to the live crowd and we open with the unified tag team champions, Jericho. And so Jericho's holding the Big Piss Bowl as he makes his way to the ring. Cole describing Big Show as a traitor, a Judas, a Brutus. And Lawler goes, beefcake? Which I thought was kind of funny. Cole says the locker room is disgusted with what the Big Show did the night before. And so Show's got the live mic and he says, despite what happened last night, I am still a proud member of the Raw roster. And then Jericho cuts him off and says, you don't have to explain yourself to me or any of these German cubators why you did what you did. And like, you know, Jericho is really firing off the big words here. It is Bob Backlund levels of absurdity and how much he is throwing at you with the big, big thesaurus words, the SAT words coming at you. He says, you're a man of loyalty and honor, and your loyalty to me and the team supersedes that of Raw and any of these solipsistic amoebas in the audience. And Show keeps trying to say something, but Jericho is like, there is no mirth or jocularity in the DX locker room, no merchandise to hawk because Team SmackDown won. And oh, by the way, I know what you were going to say, Big Show. SmackDown would have won anyway because I'm such a genius captain. Then Show finally cuts him off and says, what I did at the pay-per-view, I did for myself. I was looking out for my own career. He says, I struck a deal with SmackDown GM Teddy Long that if I helped SmackDown win, that I would get a world title shot against The Undertaker, which, oh, I guess we can just openly admit to colluding with rival general managers to like fix competitions in the wrestling and like there's no repercussions for that. That is very interesting. So the two of them start bickering, and then all of a sudden we hear the revving of engines. We cut out to the parking lot, and we see numbers 18 and 20 doing donuts out there, kicking up a big smoke storm and everything. It's Logano and Busch, those two young studs, the hot rising stars of NASCAR, the current points leader in the Nationwide Series, the youngest winner in NASCAR history, coming out. And as they roll in to the arena, I'm like, man, it has to smell like shit in there because they're still pumping out exhaust as they are rolling into the arena. But they come out there, they pop out of the cars. They got the Bella twins in matching, pit crew uniforms, arm in arm with Busch and Logano as they make their way to the ring. Then Kyle's the first one to speak, and he goes, now that's how you make an entrance. Joey and I, we're big WWE fans, and we're so excited to host Raw tonight. And like, oh no, I could tell right away we are in for a bumpy ride, so to speak, because these two poor kids, these deer in the headlights, not actors, can't stop smiling, no pacing, no projection. These babes in the woods standing toe-to-toe with these athletes, these grown-ass men in Jericho and the Big Show, and they have to try and like hold sway and authority against them. It looks, just on paper, looks so bad. And then you have to hear them talk, and oh my word, Al Sharpton had good delivery. He was an awful host, but at least he's a great orator. These guys do not have that luxury, because you've got Busch on the mic and he says, Big Show, what you did last night, Team Raw, some of the fans might not like it, but I'm a man's man and I'm with you. So a lot goes on and everything happens, but you know what? Things are happening for a reason. What? Oh no! Jumpin' Jeff Farmer is more eloquent than Kyle Busch. Are you kidding me? He was, I felt so bad for him, but also I was just thinking, these guys had to know what they were getting into, bringing guys like Busch and Logano in here. They don't have the entertainment experience. They're just the sports part of sports entertainment. And Joey is not much better, but at least he's got some fire. He's got some energy in his voice. He's like, I'm not shaking your hand, Big Show. What you did last night was wrong. It wasn't impressive. It was weak. And then Kyle goes, Big Show, I have to apologize. Joey here, he's young and dumb, which gets this light push in response from Logano. And he goes, what we're here for is to win a championship. And so we're here to help host Raw to make this show happen. Again, what are you saying? It is just word salad coming out of your mouth at this point. He goes, Joey, we're in Buffalo tonight, which gets a pop, and he goes, a city that hasn't made it to the playoffs since Hulkamania. And he says it with this total lack of conviction in his voice. Then he's like, you bring T.O. in, what's he done? Next thing you know, we'll be singing Oh Canada. And then Big Show has a big guffaw over that, and you see Jericho going, there's nothing wrong with that, which I thought was a great little chime in by him. But yeah, it's like Busch is all over the place on this show, because sometimes he heals on the audience, and sometimes he likes heel wrestlers, but he likes to go back and forth to the face side as well. Don't try and keep track of it. So then Logano's like, I get to make matches tonight, and so Big Show, I'm putting you in a match against the guy you sucker punched last night in Triple H, which gets a nice pop. And then Jericho's like, oh boy, that sucks for you, Big Show. Well, come on, kids, let's go back to your office so I can show you my big piss bowl. And then Busch is like, well, I've seen 58 of those. And then he chimes in and says, well, I can make matches too. And since I was thinking earlier as I was doing donuts out there in the parking lot, Jericho, I'm going to put you in a match
against Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston.
Kofi Johnston's Kingston. Get the fuck out of here with this guy. Why are you here? And then immediately everyone's like, Kofi Kingston? Kingston? Oh, fucking hell. And so good luck on the rebroadcast of this, by the way, they cut that. They slap a shot of the audience over it. You have to go on YouTube and find the original version. But horrible from start to finish, from polluting the inner air of the arena with the smog coming out of your cars, to just totally botching every time Kyle Busch opened his mouth. It was the worst thing ever. Good Lord. We're in for a long night if we're seeing any more of these guys. It is terrible. So after the break, we get our first match of the evening, Chris Jericho versus Kofi Johnston. Nice start for Kofi. At one point, he does a dive to the outside. He kind of overshoots and almost spikes himself on the way down. Jericho hitting his triangle drop kick just before the commercial break. I love that there are a couple of visible signs that say, ask him, and they show them, and it kind of times with when Jericho is actually saying to the ref, ask him. I like that a lot. Kofi counters the Bulldog attempt and starts his comeback. lumberjack. He goes for trouble in paradise. Jericho catches it, goes for the walls, and we get a code breaker by Jericho. Kofi gets a rope break, and Jericho gets pissed at the referee. He turns around and walks right into just the tip for Kofi to get the big victory. And so big upset win over one half of the tag team champions, and they say on commentary, well, now he's got his own bragging rights. And so Kofi is celebrating on the stage. Fine match, and then suddenly he gets jumped from behind by the now former WWE champion Randy Orton, the guy who lost the Iron Man match to John Cena, and so he jumps him, shoves him, and throws him off the stage onto the floor below. So what does this mean? Why did Orton do that? Well, after the commercial break, Josh Matthews catches up to him and asks why he did that, and Orton says, if it weren't for Kofi Kingston interfering in my championship match last night, I would still be the WWE champion.
If it weren't for Kofi Kingston,
you call an attack, I call it justice, and I've only just begun on Kofi Kingston. And then we see Cody and Child Ted enter the shot, and Orton's kind of pissed at them, but they tell him to calm down. They say they have a gift for him, so they walk him over to the promo zone, and they pull back the cover on this car, and it's this shiny, new Randy Orton edition NASCAR car. And so Orton's like, wow, you guys actually got this for me? And it's incredible. And DiBiase's like, come on, who's the son of the $1 Million Man? So they basically say, hey, this is our way of showing you that we appreciate all you've done for us. And by the way, even though you can't go for the title right now, we're going to bring the title back to Legacy. We're going to challenge John Cena. He says, enjoy your gift, man. And so they walk away. And first of all, what a weird choice. Randy Orton, the well-known NASCAR aficionado, real big fan of the stock car racing, is the Viper, obviously. His boys in Legacy know this. We get this moment where Orton's kind of looking at his own picture all sexy-like. What is he going to do with this car? Is he going to drive it? Is he going to start a team? I don't know. What an odd choice of a gift. Then we go to the Busch Logano zone, the office of our guest host tonight. You see some posters with Busch and Logano in the background, along with just a wall covered in various wrenches and other assorted mechanic tools. And so you got Eve Torres chatting it up with the host, and she's like, so tell me about this Texas Motor Speedway race you guys are doing this weekend. And they're just like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in the SmackDown car, and he's going to be in the Raw car. And Eve's like, oh, so that means you're going to win, right? And then, Busch and Logano start quietly arguing with each other over how many times they've beaten each other in races. When suddenly Jack Swagger enters the shot here, and all I can concentrate on is the visible tan line between his hand and his wrist. You can tell he's wearing gloves, and he doesn't try to blend at all. So he's like, wow, two of NASCAR's finest meet WWE's finest. We have a lot in common. You're young, successful, proven winners just like me. And hey, John Cena needs a new opponent for the WWE Championship. I want a match with him for the title here tonight. And then Busch goes like, well, gosh, I don't know if we can do that, Jack. He just wrestled for an hour last night. Well, what the fuck does that matter? Or do you have ultimate power or don't you? Are you a heel authority figure or not? Kyle, what the hell? So, Swagger is kind of shocked by that statement as well. And then Joey mumbles that they're there to do something memorable. And they says, oh, tonight we will announce the new number one contender, Cena's next opponent. And so then Swagger clarifies. What's the irony in that? And Jack Swagger being the one to kind of translate for the guest host here, where he's like, you're saying that you're going to pick John Cena's opponent tonight? Wow, that's really interesting. And then there's just this beat where they have to where they're just standing there awkwardly, and Swagger just changes the subject and goes, oh, hi, Eve. He's trying to hit on her, saying he's a future WWE champion, and then The Miz comes in and reelies him over that and says he's the next WWE champion. If anyone deserves a title match against John Cena, it's him, because he's The Miz, and I don't even hear him say awesome, because he just picks up Eve's hand and tries to kiss it, and then Eve makes a face, and everyone's kind of standing there awkwardly after that just happened. This was just a weird segment. They're trying to cram in, the Texas Motor Speedway, and then whatever stuff they're building for Swagger versus Miz. Why are they trying to build a program between them when nobody likes either of them? After the break, we get a little vignette saying that Sheamus, the Celtic Warrior from ECW, is making his Raw debut later tonight. That's going to be pretty exciting. And then we go to our next matchup, mixed tag team action as Santina Marella and Melina take on Jillian and Chavo Guerrero. Commentary says something that has to be edited out in the later rebroadcast of this show, because you just hear this big wall of audience sound slapped over something that happens during Melina and Santino's entrance. And you can come out of it and you hear them laughing and tittering over something that was said. Not much to this matchup here. Like Santino, he cartwheels out of the corner after getting some heat from Chavo, starts making his comeback. He hits his Cobra move again, which again, they've not named it that yet, but he is just doing that more as part of his repertoire. So the women get tagged in and they fight for all of 10 seconds. None of it looks good. Suddenly, Hornswoggle shows up on the apron and distracts while wearing the DX gear. The women fuck up a code red attempt, and then so instead they cover for it by Melina doing that stupid leg drop move onto Jillian. It's the inverse of what happened when Melina won the belt. And that's the end of the match. Get these two the fuck away from each other, because these two just don't work out together at all. So the baby faces are celebrating. Hornswoggle does more of the crotch chops. Suddenly we see this guy in a suit just kind of walk into the ring with this green envelope. He hands it to Hornswoggle and he takes his leave. Hornswoggle's trying to read the contents and he goes over to Jerry Lawler and he hops into Jerry Lawler's lap and he gets him to read the contents. And so Lawler says, well, gosh, Hornswoggle, this says it's a cease and desist. Yeah, DX are saying you can't be wearing the merch and doing the taunts anymore, Hornswoggle. And so then Swoggle just looks confused and heartbroken over the fact he can't wear the DX merch anymore. Oh no, it's like DX is fighting for their money. They're breaking Hornswoggle's heart. Miserable business. All of this. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of 99 after Billy Gunn won King of the Ring. And so then it became, he and Triple H fighting Road Dogg and X-Pac for the rights to the DX name. Yeah, it's as cool now in 09 as it was in 99. After the break, Justin Roberts is about to introduce the new champion John Cena when suddenly the Legacy interrupt. So Rhodes and DiBiase make their way to the ring and Cody says, the champ John Cena is going to have to wait a little longer because Legacy is here. And Ted says, just because Randy can't fight for the championship doesn't mean that we can't. So they basically challenge Cena to a match for the belt. You can be one-on-one, pick either of them, or maybe if you've got the guts, you can face us in a handicap match. Then we hear John Cena's music play, and the champ is in fact here. He interrupts them, makes his way down to the ring, and he sounds very solemn and kind of reserved about what happened. He says, I don't have to brag about last night. It was what it needed to be. It was the best fighting in one final showdown. And I think I can speak for your mentor, Randy Orton, that when the clock struck 0 and we were both exhausted, physically, emotionally, people would ask, why would you do something like that? Well, in a weird way, we did it for us. We did it for this, the belt. Yay! We did it for all of you. Most importantly, we did it because both of us knew that the John Cena-Randy Orton rivalry needed to end, and it did. God, spare me this dramatic pap. And you know what? I keep rolling my eyes, because even they had to know back then. There's no way this was the final encounter between the two of these, late 20-something men. And he goes, that brings us to Monday Night Raw, the night after the shootout at the OK Corral. Everyone in the WWE Universe is going to be tuned in to find out who's the champion, who's the new #1 contender, and they're going to be so excited to see John Cena standing across the ring from Randy Orton's Legacy. And he does this face where he's smile, frown, wow, let's just bury the fuck out of these guys before their bodies are even cold. Then Legacy is hey, we're not Randy Orton. And then John's you're right, you aren't Randy Orton. You guys have a lot to learn. And he says, I beat Randy Orton last night, and that gives me the right to say no more. And so he says to Legacy, if you guys want a shot at the championship, you have to lace your boots up real tight. You have to get in line like everybody else. You have to earn it. And he asks the crowd, do you think the Baby Oil Boys Club has earned anything here? And the crowd's like, no. And he says he's been in the back talking with Busch and Logano about possibly the Legacy having a match tonight. And that match is now, by the way, and it's against these guys. And it's MVP and Mark Henry making their way down to face Legacy. Wow, what a great and noble babyface John Cena is. Hey, you guys, fuck off, go to the back of the line. You're boring and you smell, I don't like you. At least one of them has a pinfall victory over Randy Orton when he was the WWE champion. That should count for something.
JCW presents Stranglemania. GCW's Collective at Horseshoe Casino, April 17, 2026. With the lineup that'll even make your grandmother wet. JCW Stranglemania will be the biggest thing to hit Nevada since the A-bomb. And unlike when your grandma visited, there won't be piss on the sheets when they leave. Well, hopefully not. JCW Stranglemania is a featured event, part of GCW's Collective, which means they kick ass and they're respected throughout professional wrestling. And if your favorite JCW wrestler ain't at this event, chances are he's in traction. And if he's not in traction, well, he's probably dead. Sorry to break it to you. Because this event's lineup will be the creme de la creme. That's French for the best, for those of you who are ignorant. Once upon a time, there were heroes. Good versus evil. But at JCW, there are no heroes. It's only survival of the fittest. So go thieve some tickets, or you can buy them at jcwlv.eventbrite.com.
So we go to that tag team match now. We see Busch and Logano looking on from their zone. Mark Henry gets chop blocked and gets stomped on for a bit by Legacy. Cody's working the front face lock for a long time, but he gets, pushed away, the power of Mark Henry. Hot tag to MVP. He hits a sunset flip on Ted, who is trying to block it. He stays standing up. Henry's just on the apron and just clotheslines him, and Ted is being pinned in the sunset flip forever by the time the referee gets there and counts the 3. That referee, it wasn't the referee trying to fuck on him. That was just a long time to wait for it. So I can't wait for this big supposed win for MVP and Mark to take them absolutely nowhere, in the tag team rankings. So after that happens, Randy Orton makes his way to the ring. And he does not look thrilled about this. And he says, well, apparently, the guest host, they're trying to find the next opponent for John Cena's championship. And as a result of last night, it cannot be me. And then he goes, well, that's crap. That's not fair. I disagree. I don't care about the terms of the match. I still think I should get my championship rematch because I'm the former champion. So he's complaining. He's whining about getting back what's his. Suddenly we see Kofi Kingston on the big screen. That's right, Kofi Johnston's Kingston himself. And he says to Randy, hey, you lost. Nobody cares what you have to say. And Orton's like, hey, why don't you say that to my face? And then Kofi's like, well, it's funny, I'm kind of doing that right now. And then the camera pans down to reveal that Kofi is standing on top of Randy Orton's special NASCAR car. And we can kind of see where this is going. And Orton's telling Kofi to get away from it. And before long, Kofi, he takes this big 300-pound equipment crate and he slams it up against the side of the car. He takes his key and he starts scratching. He digs his key into the side of his pretty little souped-up four-wheel drive. And then he starts taking a big crowbar and smashing the hood and the windows and everything. He's going to town on this very expensive-looking car as Orton, the NASCAR aficionado himself, is freaking out. And then Kofi's like, oh, dang, Randy, I messed up your paint job. I feel terrible. Let me fix that for you. So then he gets this big bucket of orange paint and he dumps it all over the hood of the car. It's a big mess. It's ruined. And then after doing all this, Kofi's back on the roof of the car. He steps down onto the windshield. His foot goes through it. So he's like, whoop, just before he starts finishing his promo where he goes, Randy, I don't think you've ever looked better. And at better, he slams down the bucket of paint, and then it just causes all this other leftover paint to like splash up, spill all over the place, hit himself in the face. Like, he was relatively clean until he did that, and then he just got paint all over himself, and he's like slipping, and he has to just stand tall and look really serious after he's got paint all over himself. And that was the end of the segment. I mean, that slip up aside, what a moment for Kofi. This has to be like his biggest moment yet in his career, not having to do with the championship win. Like, to have this moment, it's a huge escalation to what Orton did. Like, this is not the typical response level to what Orton did to him. Like, okay, you pushed me off the stage, I'm gonna fuck up your nice car. But like I said, big moment for Kofi here, and it's setting up what is sure to be a very, elevating program with Randy Orton. For angle purposes, the guest ring announcer for our next match is Eve Torres. You remember her from earlier, right? Well, she's here to introduce The Miz versus Evan Bourne. Are you fucking kidding me, man? Like, is it really that dire of a situation with the Raw locker room that The Miz has already run out of opponents? Like, once you go Marty Jannetty, you have no choice but to go backwards, apparently. We even have some of the same damn spots in this matchup, like that, backward arm hook submission Miz does. It looked impressive the first 2 times he did it, man. Anyway, as they're wrestling, Jack Swagger walks into the shot. He comes down to ringside, he grabs a microphone, just leans up against the apron and looks directly at Eve. His back is to the action, and he goes, "Nobody's watching you or your match, Miz. Everyone's only looking at the lovely Eve. Or rather, looking at Eve watching me. Cheese." Like, what? Like, I couldn't tell if he said cheese or G's. Either way, an inappropriate time to say either of those things. What a weird thing. Rather, Eve's watching me. Cheese. And he goes, and who can blame her? Who can take their eyes off the All-American? And why the fuck is Jack Swagger suddenly trying to be a player? Anyway, he's talking about himself, and suddenly The Miz, wrestles in Jack's direction, gets out of the ring, gets in his face, and so the referee is doing a count while this is happening. Evan does a dive to the outside onto both of them. The referee is continuing the count. Bourne gets back in the ring, the count is still going, and The Miz gets counted out. So Evan Bourne beats the US champion by count out. But how? That's not how it works. When Evan Bourne dove out, the count should have reset. That is bullshit officiating by John Cone. But why was Eve out there? Is this the payoff to what we saw earlier in the Busch Logano zone with her and Miz and Swagger? Again, why are 2 heels in Miz and Swagger having beef right now? Can Evan Bourne pick up more than 1 win at a time? Boy, this was stupid. They announced that next week's guest hosts are Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne. Okay, fuck yes. I'm ready for that. Next week should be a lot of fun. Then we see our next matchup as Jamie Nobleboy is in the ring, and before his opponent's announced, we go to the big screen and we see Busch and Logano, and they introduce themselves like, "Hey guys, Kyle Busch and Joey Logano here, guest hosts of Raw." Like, thank you, we're aware. And they go, "Jamie, you're a real tough in that ring, doing a great job, but let's see how tough you are when you take on Raw's newest acquisition, the Celtic Warrior, Sheamus." So they barely make it through that sentence, and sure enough, it's a shameful thing. Lobster head. It is the Raw debut of Sheamus, who'd been running roughshod and ECW for a while leading up to this. Before the match, Sheamus grabs the mic and says, "Me name is Sheamus. It's me first night on Raw, and I'm here to make an impression." I'm sorry, I wasn't really trying with the voice there, but I don't think he sticks around with saying me name instead of my name for much longer after this. So anyway, Sheamus is throwing the much smaller opponent around for a bit. He's bending him over his shoulder for a backbreaker. Noble starts to fight back, but only for a little bit. Sheamus, his finish is really cool here. He does a couple of standing backbreakers and throws him down so Noble lands on his feet into the brogue kick. for the finish. That was a cool little combo there. I like that a lot. But big authoritative debut for Sheamus. Obviously, we can say in 2026 he's going to go on to have a fantastic career, win just about every championship there is, and yeah, do pretty well for himself. And hey, in the short term, we know he's got a big WrestleMania date coming up in just a few months from now against Triple H. And speaking of which, we see him making his way to the ring alongside Shawn Michaels for our main event, but we'll get to that in a moment. Before the main event, Cole and Lawler are really trying to retroactively push the pay-per-view to the audience. We're like, oh man, guys, if you missed bragging rights, you missed Batista's heel turn, you missed the last time we'd ever see John Cena and Randy Orton face off, you missed SmackDown winning the Big Piss Bowl, and they get to hold on to that for an entire year. I can't believe it. And of course, SmackDown did win the big trophy last night in the 7-on-7 tag match by The Big Show, turning on Kofi Kingston, sucker punching Triple H. Oh my gosh, the ramifications of this were so dire for Raw. Absolutely fucking nothing is different about it compared to where it was last week before bragging rights was even a thing. Oh, the humanity. But that's why we have this main event matchup here, Triple H versus The Big Show. But before the match begins, Triple H gets on the mic and says, I was talking to Kyle Busch and Joey Logano. They've changed the rules. It's a lumberjack match now. And the lumberjacks, it just happens to be everybody on Team Raw who you betrayed show. Whoa, never give in. But it's not just the other teammates from the match last night. It's like the whole Raw roster. And wow, when you look at it all like that, and it's described as the whole Raw roster, it really lays bare how fucking pathetic this makeup of guys is. Every single one of these people, save for DX, have been built in some way or fashion or form like losers for the last several months. Even the ones who are winning more than they're losing still kind of give off a loser air about them. And legacy is not in this group, and that really makes a difference because that at least brings up the average of everyone else. But when they're gone and it's just DX and The Big Show and everyone else, no wonder SmackDown won. Then before the match begins again, Shawn Michaels gets on the mic and says, oh, actually, it's a no DQ lumberjack match, meaning the lumberjacks can do whatever they want to you. And, we also have a special guest referee, and his name is John Cena. And so the WWE champion, he shows up with the referee shirt underneath. We are ready to go. As soon as the match begins, Show charges at Triple H, pulls the rope down, and Big Show just eats it on the outside, and lumberjacks immediately start to glom on him as we go to commercial, which is a great cutaway. We're back from break. Show is having a dominant stretch against Triple H. He's stomping and striking away. At one point, he's hitting the ropes. Chris Masters tries to trip him up. He immediately regrets that. But the best part of this whole match is as Show is beating up Masters, you hear Santino talk for a second, and then it cuts to this big close-up of him, talking almost right into the camera as he says, Chris Masters, no talent. He just buries the fuck out of Masters for the world to see, saying he's got no talent. Wow. Who needs DX to bury the lower card guys? The lower card guys are burying themselves perfectly well. Trips counters a choke slam into a DDT, and even Jackie Swags is like, yeah, get him. Big Show hits his Vader bomb, and once again, they choose the absolute worst angle to show it at, where you see all the daylight between Big Show, his body, and his victim. So Cena starts the count, but he stops himself. He pulls a Nick Patrick, and he can't hit that third count. So now the fix is in. All the lumberjacks come in, and each one of them gets their shit in. We are seeing just finishers, boom, 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 boom. Kofi hits just the tip. Cena hits the attitude adjustment, and then we get everyone counting along as Shawn Michaels tunes up the band, hits sweet chin music, sets up for Triple H to hit the pedigree, and then Cena makes the count. Triple H wins, and everybody happy for one night only as all of Raw, except for Legacy, bands together to beat the hell out of that traitor. Again, that is the only punishment Big Show's going to receive, despite openly colluding with a rival general manager. But wait, out come Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, who are getting booed by the live audience, rightfully so. And they say they thought about it all night, but they just couldn't come to a decision as to who the number one contender would be until we found someone who put them on the same page. And suddenly we hear Hornswoggle's music, and DX Swoggle makes his way out onto the stage to say hi to the hosts. And then they announce at Survivor Series it's going to be a triple threat match for the championship. Cena defending against Triple H and Shawn Michaels. And that gets kind of a mixed reaction. Stunned looks from all three guys in the ring as they all just kind of look at each other. Oh gosh. As we fade to black. You know what? It's kind of obvious. It's an obvious call, but it's a boring call that they would go to Michaels and Triple H at once for this, because who else are they going to get? Have you seen the rest of the Raw roster? Did you look at the Lumberjacks? Maybe if these top guys didn't spend every waking moment just burying the fuck out of the lower and mid-card guys like Cena did to Legacy, or like DX does with literally everybody, then they wouldn't be in this position where everyone looks like a joke and you have to go back to the same 2 or 3 competitors after running the well dry of Orton and Cena. But that is going to do it for this edition of Raw. I'm going to give it a grade of 1 out of 5. Boy, this was almost a reverse momentum kind of show. They wanted to sell you bragging rights retroactively on this show more than they wanted to push toward Survivor Series. You know, like the annual event that they've been doing for years at this point, which features, you guessed it, more multi-man matches. Yay! Just, no momentum. Nothing to care about at all in this one except for the short story of Big Show being a traitor. What else is new? And man, as far as those guest hosts, Busch and Logano fucking sucked. 0.5 out of 5 for me. Every time they showed up on camera, I wanted to look away because it was so awkward. You could tell Busch in particular had the worst amount of stage fright. The way he was on camera, anytime he had the microphone, he brought things to a halt. And their dynamic as to whether or not they were face and heels with each other, with the fans, changed almost every segment. Kofi fucking Johnston. Awful! And with that, it is time to revisit the all-time guest host rankings, 18 editions in. One thing that has surprised me in the course of Guest Host Raw is, how often I've been surprised by things. I am continually impressed with how I'm thrown for loops by things. For instance, I am very surprised that 18 weeks in, we have not yet reached the bottom of the barrel when it comes to these guest hosts. I didn't think that ZZ Top could be topped until the Reverend Al Sharpton came along. I thought that the Reverend Al would stay firmly entrenched in the bottom of this list until Kyle Busch and Joey Logano sped their way into the hearts and minds of the WWE Universe with that all-time stinker of a performance. I'm sorry, it was just a double dose of suck. And even Al Sharpton didn't mess up someone's name. Again, Kofi Johnston, that's worse than Summerfest, bar none. But how will the Wizard of Oz, Ozzy Osbourne, sort things out on WWE's flagship show when he and his wife Sharon guest host next time on Raw? We're going to find out 2 weeks from this video coming out, folks. But what did you think of this episode of Raw, Busch and Logano as guest hosts? I want to hear about it in the comment section below. Needless to say, far better race car drivers than wrestling show guest hosts. Folks, be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to Wrestling with Regret. Hit the bell icon to get all the notifications. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you right here next time on Guest Host Raw.